Well, Ganesh, fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed it. A lot of themes that we're going to talk about a little bit here today. Heard a little bit about customer expectations and personalization. A lot of that we're going to cover here today a little bit more. I'm going to be discussing a lot about personalization strategies that drive the segment of one. And before I get into that, I just want to introduce myself. As you heard the gentleman say, my name is Gary Burtka, and I'm at RTB House. We are a global deep learning personalization company with offices in more than 70 countries throughout the world. We have many fantastic clients, and we're very pleased to be offering amazing services to them throughout many areas in personalization and retargeting. Before joining RTB House, I was a VP of Account Strategy for Criteo for several years, and prior to that, I was on the client side working for brands like Ticketmaster, Brad's Deals, and Land's End. It was actually at Land's End about 10 years ago where I began to uncover and discover this need for personalization and segmentation. And so we're going to talk a lot about the segment of one today. We're also going to cover a little case study from one of our early US, our actual first US clients, a company called Gifts For You Now. They're based up in Chicago. We work with the director of e-commerce up there, Jeremy Wagner, who's done a fantastic job at innovating personalization for a company that creates personalized gifts for people. So personalization is very near and dear to them. So before I go on, I just was curious, from a little show of hands. Who here is marketing for a brand? Anybody? All right, how about maybe a e-commerce platform okay. How about an agency? All right, so we have a fantastic mix in the audience. Really quickly, I just wanted to clarify what I mean by a segment of one. Now, I'm very focused on what I consider hyper-personalization, and what that means to me is really using your data and your customer segments to get all the way down so you have a hyper-personalized message, whether it's in email or in content or in social or in programmatic, that results for a specific product or service for that user. And it's relevant to that user in that specific time, okay? And that's important because we see everybody using AI to collect data and to use data to really target users and to hyper-segment users to try to find that real efficiency in marketing. And truly, AI is the best way to do this. 10, 20 years ago as marketers, when I started marketing and trying to segment users, we were doing this manually. And today, because of all the data we collect, we can no longer do this manually. We have to incorporate robots and the use of AI to help us solve these complicated and complex mathematical problems. So before I get really into the presentation, I want to share with you a personal experience that I have from my own YouTube account. Now, I don't mean to throw Google under the bus here, but we all know they are a leader in global advertising spend. And also many of us use their products and services. Many of us also partner with them. I am one of all of those, right? And so what I find interesting about the personalization that I have, and as a customer, my experience, and how it doesn't really always meet my expectation, and this is not unique to YouTube, this is true for Netflix and Amazon, a few of the brands I heard Ganesh talking about in the last presentation. What you're gonna see here, and again, before I go too much further, I wanna preface this, when I'm not optimizing ads, I'm actually backflipping and racing jet skis. So a lot of the stuff that I watch on YouTube is gonna be jet ski or motorcycle related. So there's a number of recommendations here that are very relevant, right? So I have Twangled, that's one of my other profiles. It's a jet ski video I recently uploaded, gold star there. There's a few other profiles that I have subscribed to, ESPN, Red Bull, obviously these are relevant to me. But I start looking at some of these other results. The country music result. I may have clicked on a country song 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. I don't really remember. But I find it strange that these short-term signals are starting to override the long-term content signals that I've built up watching YouTube for 10 and 12 years now. But more concerning than that, I start looking at other non-related recommendations, right? This country farming result in the bottom left corner, I have no idea. I don't watch any farming videos. Don't Google that. This psychedelic rock, the Jonestown cult, I don't understand these results. It's starting to concern me about what's being recommended to me anywhere I go. The craziest one I'm kind of looking at and wondering what AI is doing in this case is the Cold War result. And the only correlation I see is the last video I watched was a snowmobile video. Snow was cold, the Cold War was cold, and that is leading me to believe there's something crazy going on here. So doing more due diligence, I was recently traveling throughout Europe, visiting our headquarters in Warsaw, Poland, and while I was there, I decided I wanted to have some classic rock playing in my hotel room. Spent a week and a half in Poland. I've been there numerous times now throughout the last year and a half, and what I've noticed is every time I go there, all of the ads I get in Google products are in Polish. I don't speak Polish. I've been a longtime Google user, always logged in searching for things in English. Yet when I go to other countries, they believe I speak that language. So I start thinking about what data is Google using to target me with these ads that are clearly irrelevant for those advertisers. That's a poor user experience and a poor client advertising experience on the other side. And I start thinking, wow, it's got to be an IP address targeting or some kind of geolocator. Very soft metrics to target a user on. This gets me thinking more and thinking back to my days as an early marketer, using demographic data to try targeting users. Things like age, income, education. These were great for bucketing users back in the day for certain kinds of products, but ideally they do not tell you their intent. There's no intent basis for the data you're collecting that's demographic. You don't know when they're in market for a certain product or service. You don't know their likelihood to convert. And so this demographic data is really not useful today. We need to start unpacking real, insightful information about our users. This is going to be first-party data, right? This is actual data from your actual users on your actual site. This is going to be really meaningful data. Things like, what's the user searching for on your site? What products are they viewing? What has been added to cart? When are they abandoning the cart? And things like this. So again, as you think about what kind of signals you're looking for, you need to really think about those deep intent signals to optimize your online campaigns. Now, what you can do with these deep intent signals is you can start to build an actual funnel and strategies that will relate to your customers. This is an example of a funnel. This isn't necessarily the one you have to use, but what I like to do is use this to say, hey, we can look at the different kinds of paths along the funnel and find engagement triggers that will be logical to those consumers at any given time, driving that user farther down the funnel, which is what we all want to do. Now, I like to start my segmentation by building a data audience. And what this means to me is thinking about other places you have valuable data and piping those to your partners. So in the case of a DSP or retargeting partner, for example, I always like to use that one, think about your point of sale data. So how can you get your live ramp or your data logics data over to us to improve the efficiency of that campaign? More importantly, how can we layer that or stack that with maybe some CRM or map data so we understand your actual segmentation internally? We can begin to wrap that with business rules to make, again, your marketing more efficient. And also break down some of those walled gardens that you see in retargeting that are kind of getting complex. You see other channels like email able to do more hyper-personalization. That can be done with the right partner and the right vendor today. And with that data, you can start to uncover and unwind really cool advanced scenarios for targeting your users. In fact, with the right partners again, and the right mix of products, you can have endless assortment of ads that you can trigger your users to make sure they're relevant at any given time, they're ready to purchase your product or service. One cool thing that I like to tell people, and this is where my tips and tricks are going to start, right, is to when you're selecting vendors, make sure you select vendors that can match your strategies, okay? So one example we have here in terms of flexibility is that we have a large retail client right now that we're working with, and we're actually using one cookie pool, one tag, to target and solve for 4 different business problems that this client's having, right? So first of all, we have an approach with one business owner in that organization with one budget to convert new users. So we get a signal from the cookie that fires. We understand that the user has never purchased before, and we're going to go out and target that user with a cost per acquisition metric of $70 to $80, right? And convert new users based on the lifetime value projection that they have. But working again with the broader marketing team, we're talking to their retention team, and we have an active campaign that's going to bring their existing users back to retain them and re-engage them, building better brand value. Right? Now that's going to have like a $4 or $5 ROAS goal, much different than the CPA goal we have. But again, it's all contained within one cookie pool and within one campaign. Another sub-campaign that we've been working on building out is now a mobile campaign to the in-app mobile team. A third different person, a third different budget, yet a different business goal, but able to be achieved within the one holistic view. So again, it's layering up these strategies with different KPIs that we can solve for in real time to ensure that you're not overloading your site with too many tags, you're not trying to add too many vendors, but you can actually streamline your programmatic offering with one vendor that can strategically implement and solve problems across different paths of your organization. Additionally, we're working to launch a retargeting campaign that, for in-app that will have a little looser ROAS goal, so a different ROAS goal than desktop, because this company has found that there are a stickier user, a better lifetime value user on the in-app side of the business, obviously, than from the desktop. So now I'd like to pivot over and give you a few more generic personalization tips that I've found to be be helpful over the years. So one thing I found is that a lot of vendors, they have really cool additional offerings, right? So you're gonna hear omni-channel, cross-device, and things like this that will help you to unlock more personalization in your channels. Now, one thing I found over the years is that sometimes clients are disappointed because they're expecting a 2 or 3x return from these channels or these minor optimizations overnight. And in reality, you're not gonna see that. What you're gonna see when you add an omni-channel or you add a cross-device, or you add both omni-channel then cross-device later, is you're gonna see incremental improvements, right? And those incremental improvements will gain over time as you collect more data and subsequently segment your users better and inform the system, which can also help to, again, segment the users better on the vendor side. So expect incremental improvements, not all overnight. And also, when you begin testing these changes, right, I know there's a lot of times you have to do a site redesign, a major feature functionality change in your website, but always be sure to re-baseline your KPIs on your website. I hate to see clients that change major things in their website while they're doing a multi-channel or incremental multivariate test, because it really does cloud up the results. And ultimately, it does not enable them to make the best decisions that will help them to optimize the website campaigns, right? And then I always like to say close strong. So for me, the big secret success in my sauce was to do a lot of testing through Q3 and push everything live into Q3. So when you're running in Q4 during peak time, obviously retail, you can make the most of your year. Obviously, that's different for anybody's calendars, but I always encourage you to finish your calendar year strong with the best tested campaigns that you've figured out from your work all year. I want to pivot back over to the consumer side of the business and think about what users are expecting when we talk about personalization. And to me, it's a lot about a personal shopper, right? When I'm looking around and I go and I view some clothes and then I go over to a blog, I don't want that experience to be really salesperson oriented where they're just plopping and shoving products in my face. I like that personal shopper approach, right? I like when the ads can predict and understand what kind of clothing or products I'm in the market for and can show me the ones that I haven't seen but I really want and I can click and buy. That to me is efficiency, and that makes it feel like the personalization is really my personal shopper. It's something that's really in concert to help me as a user, as a customer of their product or service. I'd like to take a little deep dive now into that case study I was talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about Gifts for You Now. Again, this is a personalization website. They create personalized products for people, typically people's names, but it could have a business logo or something like that. But they're really focused on people, and what they really focus on is their customer life cycle. So Jeremy and his team has been really focused the last 2 years at identifying when people make a personalized product purchase, what they fall into. So using this as an example, a lot of times when a young couple get married, right, they have a bridal party. And as part of that bridal party celebration, they create a lot of customized products for that group of friends. And so what Jeremy and his team can do is they can see when a bridal party makes that investment. And they can say, hey, what's the likelihood in 9 to 14 months that there could be a newborn child? And they begin to re-engage those users 9 months later to see when the baby's coming. Once they figure out when the baby's coming, they can begin to sequence an entire life cycle of marketing based on real life events that happen within a regular family. This has been very exciting stuff for Jeremy, but he wasn't always a client of RTB House. Actually, I had to go and talk him into making a test with us about 1.5 years ago. He had called me, though. He was looking for a new partner. He was struggling with some of his creative. He was looking for better creative, a little less frequency, but he wanted to keep the same performance. And he wanted to keep his ROAS consistent day over day, week over week, and month over month. He didn't want to see any of the ebbing and flowing that was happening with some of his other partners that he had been testing. So we've been live with Jeremy now over 1.5 years, and we took a little deep dive last month to see how he had performed in Q4 of last year. And we saw awesome results, right? So we see here a 300% increase in orders, a 30% increase in average order value, and a 9% increase in AOV. And this was all with lower frequency. So this was pretty exciting for me. And so again, I called Jeremy, let him know about what he was doing and what we were seeing on his side. I asked him what he was doing in personalization on his side. And he told me he's been working on a lot of new campaigns. And so one right here is we have this really new cross-sell widget he's been working on. This is part of his exit marketing intent strategy, right? And so this is to cross-sell, upsell campaigns. And he's seen a good 20-30% lift on sales through this channel. Another one of my favorite channels is this personalized email, and I'm not sure if you can see this here, but right here is actually my name on this mug, right? So they have this process where they can actually put the name of the person that customized something last into an email and send you an email with your name on it. So they're trying to find ways to make this an improved process, but again, creating a hyper-personalized experience for the user to really enjoy. Now, the add to cart modal was his most recent one, and this is powered by Certona, who's also using machine learning and artificial intelligence to predict what they could buy on the site. And this has been, again, another example of how they're hyper-personalizing the user experience. And what they're doing here is a cross-sell, upsell model on their homepage, category page, cart page, and now they're looking for interstitials and other pages that they can put this on. So a lot of work here on finding ways to hyper-personalize the experience. And when I asked Jeremy about his 2019 goals, usually customers say, hey, they need an increase in sales, they're looking for new to file. But Jeremy, he said the only way they can grow next year is if they look at their data and they cleanse their data and they find better ways to get it to their vendor partners for more hyper-personalization opportunities. So they're trying to stay ahead of this. And I always recommend anybody else thinking about this as a strategy too. Clean data in means clean data out. It's a much better user experience for everybody. Now, what's interesting is as we were diving into Jeremy's personalized gifts area to see the impact of RTB House against other solutions in the marketplace, we decided we were going to look a little broadly across our 2018 results to see if we're seeing similar results in other categories. And we are. It's pretty interesting. And so we start wondering, why this is. Why would there be different results from different remarketers? And the reality is no retargeter is built equally. So anybody here using more than one retargeter is in the space? Anybody? Now, this has become a very common tactic. Actually, I talked to about 40 to 60% of the clients I talk to are now using multiple retargeters or two retargeters at once. And a lot of people ask, why or how could this be efficient? And I say, well, when you think about how retargeting algorithms work and retargeters work, essentially there are gaps in the users and the user scores and values. And ideally, by combining differing like strategies, you can actually find and solve for some of these gaps you're getting. So what we have here is looking at 2017 over 2018 for a specific retail client. The same expense, right? So for the same expense with two retargeters, they were able to generate much higher sales for 3 quarters consistently. And we've now seen this also across Q1. So this isn't something unique to Q4. It's been very static in terms of growth. And we're seeing this, again, with less frequency. So, again, this kind of goes back to the point that there are some vendors out there that are really good at monetizing remnant data and mobile users. There are some vendors that are out there that are really good at going after your abandoned shopping carts, right? And there are yet other vendors that will pay more for premium users at less frequency to get them back to your site. And so you need to think about your strategy and which 2 or 3 retargeters might best fit you. Now, the last thing I want to talk a little bit about today is what I like to call the danger zone, right? And this is brand safety. Anybody here have brand safety concerns with, maybe the election coming up and other things? I see some hands back there. Brand safety is something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's always been a big concern, probably now about 6 years for me and the clients I've been working with. And what I see is, you're not all alone. In fact, 99% of marketers that were surveyed recently are concerned about brand safety, and this is a 58% increase from last year. In fact, the thing that I found most interesting is it's keeping 8 out of 10 of our CMOs up at night. That's not good. We got to make sure our bosses are sleeping, right? So what we did was we talked to a lot of our big clients, and we heard from clients like Walmart, Sephora, Adidas, and Hotels.com, and listened to their concerns about brand safety. And we've been utilizing SSP and third-party solutions. We've been utilizing offensive content and malware layers. We also have a Google Trust implementation. And that is great, but it's not good enough to be the best. And so we actually developed our own comprehensive brand safety platform, which is keyword driven, meaning that if you provide for us a negative keyword list, we can assess and score the keywords and content on a publisher prior to deploying your ad. And this does help make the web environment safer for your ad impressions, helps keep you out of the danger zone, right? And so this is really important for us. And again, a very big factor in how you can engage your users and keep a very positive user experience. Now, I know we're running short on time. I wanted to thank you all for your time here today. I encourage you to come by our booth number 513. We have Cosmo, the AI-powered robot. Come on by, check out Cosmo, enter for your chance to take it home, and definitely we can continue the conversation either in the back of the room or at the booth. And I think we have a few minutes for some questions.
We actually do not have any time for questions.
All right.
Sorry about that, Gary.
Come and see me at the booth for some questions.
Please see Gary at the booth. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause.